What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to make a quick little video on some of the best weapons that you can use early on in the grind. Obviously, as this video goes live, the game is going to be coming out really soon for anyone who didn't get early access, and even for those of you who did have early access, we're still so early in the game that it is kind of hard to know which weapons are good or bad. So today I thought I'd cover some of the better weapons to help you guys out early on. Before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, then consider subscribing and turning on those notifications. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So obviously some of this is going to be subjective, and then obviously everyone has their own preferences too. Some people like snipers, some people like SMGs, so these aren't really the definitive best weapons or anything like that, just the ones that I've found to be really good so far, and they're all below level 20 as well. So obviously there are some banger weapons later on too, but for now these are what will help you guys when you're starting out. In terms of the SMGs, in my opinion, the PP29 is without a doubt the best SMG that I've used so far. As of recording this, I actually don't have it unlocked in game, but I have used the hell out of it in the early preview since we had everything unlocked for us, and that's what you guys are seeing in this footage. And I honestly felt like it was the best SMG overall, not even just for the early stages. It unlocks at level 18, so it will take you a little bit of time to unlock it, but it is seriously worth the wait in my opinion, and I think you guys will definitely enjoy using this one. To me, it almost feels like a mix between an SMG and an AR. It does really well at close range while still having some pretty solid range on it too, so it's almost like a jack of all trades in a way. Now, the unfortunate thing about it being a jack of all trades is that, as they always say, jack of all trades, master of none. So you will probably lose some gunfights at super close range to, say, the PPX for example, and you will lose some of those mid-range gunfights to an AR. But if you just want something that does pretty well in all areas, then I think the PP29 is definitely a good one to use. Now, in terms of the assault rifles, the way that bloom works in this game, they're currently a little bit hard to use at times because the bullet spread is essentially randomized, and so a lot of the time the bullets won't actually go where you're aiming if you hold down the trigger. So both the M5A3 and the AK-24 are currently a little bit underwhelming. I'd say that the AK-24 is likely the better option, at least in my opinion. Anyway, it is still very viable for sure, and if you handle it well in terms of tapping the trigger and just trying to control your recoil, then it is still a very solid weapon. But yeah, just keep in mind that the bloom is currently a little bit messed up. DICE have actually said they're looking into it, but for now the ARs can be a little bit inconsistent. Now, in terms of the Marksman Rifles, both the DM7 and the SVK are absolutely unreal. They're actually borderline OP in my opinion, and I kind of hope they get a little bit of a nerf at some point, but both of these weapons are really solid, and I think if you guys are struggling to get kills, these are both solid weapons to choose from. Both are obviously semi-automatic or single fire weapons only, so I'm sure some of you guys aren't a fan of these single fire weapons, but I think that's the thing that's great about these two weapons, is that they kind of force you to slow down a bit, which in itself is a great way to improve your gameplay. A lot of people, and I'd probably include myself in this, tend to sort of rush around way too fast at times. When it works, and it can be so much fun to just run around like mad getting kills, but there will be times in which that just won't work at all, and I think by using either of these two weapons, it really does just force you to play a little bit slower, since they're obviously not great in close quarters. These are the type of weapons that you want to sort of sit back with, not all the way back in your spawn or anything, but you want to be kind of like just behind the action, trying to make all of your engagements at that sort of mid to long range in order to maximize their efficiency. One thing I will say is that the SVK does start out with a 4x scope, and that can be a little bit too zoomed in for me personally, since I do like to get into the action at times. So you will just have to grind it out a little bit to get some new scopes, or just use it with the iron sights if you feel the same as me about the 4x. Luckily, the DM7 does have a 2x scope from the get-go, and to me that is the perfect sight already. So the DM7 is definitely a really solid alternative as well, yet the SVK is definitely a little bit more powerful as a weapon. They both have a lot of pros and cons compared to each other, so I'd recommend just giving them both a try and seeing which one you like most for certain situations. Now, below level 20, those are honestly the only weapons that I personally think are worth mentioning as some of the best weapons. Not to say the other ones I didn't mention are bad per se, but these ones are just the weapons I personally feel are going to be the easiest for you guys to get the hang of early on in your playtime. The gunplay in this game will take a lot of time to get the hang of. There's some weird stuff going on with the bloom, like I said, meaning a lot of shots seemingly won't hit when you feel like they should be, and that can cause the game to get pretty frustrating at times, so just be aware of that. Like I said, they are working on a fix for some changes already, and so it shouldn't be that way forever, but yeah, I just thought that was worth mentioning, and that combined with some of these weapons should hopefully help some of you guys out with the game. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. If you guys want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.